Well, hey there, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us for this last real estate radio show for 2022. This is our New Year's weekend episode, and it's going to be great. We've got Guy Giles coming on in just a little bit. He's with Mutual Mortgage. He's going to answer some questions. I'm going to ask him about 2023, make some predictions. Love doing that this time of year, and also kind of unpack what happened to our little housing market here in Southern Oregon for 2022. It's going to be a great show, so hope you'll stay tuned. In the meantime, I pulled some early numbers for 2022 for all three counties. Just a reminder that MLS in a couple of weeks will publish the official 2022 numbers, but since we're already done with our business days, I thought I would grab some early results and run them by you. And I think you'll be surprised because all three counties made money in real estate, at least single family home residential real estate this year. We've got 4% for Jackson County. Jackson County for 2021, the average price was $483,000. This year it's $507,000. $507,000 average is the early number for Jackson County. We're up 4% in spite of everything. And that's the smallest gain we had in Southern Oregon. Josephine County is up 5% from 2021. The average in 2021 in Josephine County was $436,000 per single family residential. It's up to $462,000 is the average price. Early results for 2022 Josephine County. Klamath County had the biggest gain. You know, they're doing a lot up there. Klamath County is up 8% for 2022. In 2021, Klamath County was averaging $295,000 per residential home. It's now averaging $321,000 per residential home. What a year, in spite of all the price decreases and the volatility and the interest rates. Homeowners made money in Southern Oregon, 4 to 8%. Those are the early numbers. Again, we'll have to wait for the MLS to publish their official reports in a couple weeks. Well, there you go. Let's take a quick break and say thank you to our sponsors all year. We love you. Thank you, Guy Giles, Mutual Mortgage, local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, and our own John L. Scott, Ashland, Medford. We appreciate you enormously. It's an educational program here. Listeners get a lot out of it, so thank you for your support. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with Guy Giles. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. I'm Alice Lema, a broker, John L. Scott Real Estate here in beautiful Southern Oregon, and we're talking to Guy Giles from Mutual Mortgage, one local lender, also sponsors the show. So glad to have you back, Guy.
Hey, thanks. It's good to be back.
So our last, I'm sorry. This is the last show of the year, and I'm so glad that it gets to be you because there's an awful lot that happened again.
Yeah, well, I think finally, we may not feel it in the stores or places, but, I think inflation, everybody's just kind of thinking that, we may finally be turning that around a little bit as far as the Fed's been really aggressive. I've never been quiet about, I wish they would have got aggressive a little earlier. But that said, they're morons, so it is what it is. And, so anyway, but I think the ship's kind of turning around, at least as far as the mortgage rates. Everybody's anticipating first quarter, second quarter at the very latest, that we're going to see, rates maybe down in the mid fours again. So I was trying to look up some Fannie Mae projections right before I got here, and I didn't quite get them open. But the last time I heard, that's what they were predicting.
Well, and didn't they go down to the low sixes? Can we talk about that? Because I don't think everybody understands how big the swings have been.
It has. I mean, just between, I was looking up some information, just between, housing not going up and maybe just correcting a tiny bit, even though it is still 3.4% year over year, it's higher than what it was, a year ago. Just sales all the way across the country, everything averaged. $200 less a month believe it or not, between the rates coming down a
Wow.
little bit and that, just the average payment, so like I said, they're looking at everything everywhere, but that is significant as far as that goes. And if you add that into, maybe doing a buy down, having the seller, instead of reducing their price, maybe pay for buying down your rate a little bit, you can actually get, not where we were. Don't get me wrong, we're not there yet, but definitely we've had some relief as far as that goes. So the other thing is, though, there's still credit hits. So if you're thinking about buying a house, come in and see me. I don't charge anything to run credit scenarios. The time to kind of work on that stuff is not when you're in the middle of a transaction. It's now. So if we can kind of get you ready, I can do this with a soft pull where I'm not actually pulling your credit. You're not getting a credit hit on it. And we can basically qualify you from that. And I have a guy right now that owns a few restaurants in town, and his credit's not bad, but getting it up just a tiny bit will actually save him about $4,500. And it
Wow.
really was not that much to, for him to tweak a little bit to get his score up. And, that little ways like that kind of mitigate some of the issues we've had with everything going up lately.
Well, you can feel it in the market when you're out talking to buyers and sellers. There's a little more optimism and there's a little more confidence. I guess that would be the word. People are still worried, but they're not as worried as they were. They're still wanting to sell their house, buy the other house. And it's a good time to do that because the prices are still up. That's the part, the interest rates are down and the prices are still up year over year from where they were. They're just off their highs. And it's just hard sometimes to explain that to people, that we just don't see a big crash coming.
No,
but there's a lot of projections all across the board.
Yeah, we've, I think the big difference in before and now is we haven't done bad loans for a long, long time. I mean, this nothing like the last time when everything crashed and everybody was doing what they call stated loans, where you're just telling them, telling your lender what you make, it's you are qualifying
Or make up what you make.
Yeah.
That was what people were doing, because you
Oh,
didn't have to show that you actually made money. You just had to say.
well, definitely. And if you had a 680 credit score, there wasn't even a pricing hit for doing a stated loan back then. And why in the world would a W-2 employee ever need a stated loan? I mean, it's so
Well,
easy.
there's a good question, because
Yeah,
those are
for self-employed people, and it was for good reason, because I mean, if you can write some things off and pay a little bit less in taxes, it doesn't mean you're not making money. And it was designed for self-employed people, and everybody just got really greedy and kind of opened it up for everybody. And anyway, it's a time I don't want to go back to, but it is definitely a different market right now. And people still need houses, even though it's not as low as what it once was. I know that my first house, I paid more than where rates are right now, and I'd go back and buy 100 of them right now if I could.
Yeah, if only we knew then.
Well, yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, rather than going, and I see this daily now, instead of going in and bidding $30,000-$40,000 more for a house, just praying that you'll actually get it, and then removing all contingencies and not, I mean, saw some pretty loose deals going in before this thing turned around a little bit, where you're just like, God, I hope it, how's it even going to appraise for this? And, now it's just more reasonable, where, sellers are coming in, they don't have expectations like they did before. Some of them probably still do, but they'll come around, or they'll stay put, I guess would be the answer. But instead of paying way more for a house than what it's listed at, now you could actually pay less for it. And when you look at the whole net, it takes a long time to make up $30,000-$40,000 that you overpaid for a house. And I don't mean overpaid, because eventually it will catch up, but it's just, it's not as bad as as it all looks. If you really take into consideration the whole picture. Right now, you might actually be able to get a deal on a house and have those sellers that are willing to bargain with you a little bit.
Well, and just to be nice. And I'm not saying that people were not nice before, but when you get in those frenzy market, like Lennox Scott likes to call it, and what you were saying, overpaying, not doing inspections and things like that, it creates some animosity in the transaction that we just don't have right now, because it's a more normal, neutral market. And that's not to say you still don't have to fight a little bit, especially if it's a great house for a great price. But I just look at this combination. It's just perfect. The prices are down. The interest rates are down. There's houses on the market. And do you know that people are still listing their house even through the holidays? We're still getting new listings on the market, and some of them are really sweet.
No, it's cool. And then especially after everybody, kind of gets to the first of the year and they wake up out of their turkey coma or whatever. And it's time to go, get on with my life. And really that's what we just have to do. I mean, to just stay in a rut. I mean, people move around for jobs, they have families, they do things, and they're going to still be moving around. And you're right now is a good time to just be there. And it's just a math thing at the end,
It is. Yeah.
Let's just look at the thing. And, I mean, if get a good budget for you and just have your eyes open, get hooked up with Alice as your real estate agent, and just, I don't know, just be looking, because that right one just might come along right now. And I've seen it a lot lately. We've put quite a few in contract where we really weren't doing it a few weeks ago.
Here we go again. I mean, remember how busy it was last year? Let's talk about that. Going into last January, we were as busy as we usually are in the summer. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I felt like that for 7 years, 8 years, up until about a month and a half ago. It was about October or something. And everything just came to a screeching halt right then. And I mean, I had definitely felt that there was no letting up for a long time. So this, is as scary as it is on the surface, it needed to happen. I mean, there's just too many young people out there working, trying to get into a house, that if that had kept on going like that, it would just been unattainable for them. And, you don't want to have to wait for mom or dad to die so you have a little bit of money for a down payment. And I know it's morbid, but God, I'm like a Christmas cheer here, aren't I? Anyway,
but we're, real estate is life events do drive. So we're not being morbid or insensitive. We're just having a practical conversation. And, to be doing this radio show around the holidays, people are with their friends and family a lot. And it's a good time to have those conversations. What are we going to do with the house? What are we going to do with mom or dad? So-and-so got married, so-and-so got divorced.
How cool would it be to have that grandkid around year round? Just gift the kiddos a little bit of money, and you're not making anything on it in the bank right now anyway. There's some really good ways to get your family closer to you. So I don't have any grandkids yet. I can't wait, Brittany. It's about time. But anyway, it's just, that's the one thing that this time of the year does kind of bring around, the importance of family. And that is by far the biggest reason that I see definitely people moving, just getting closer to family, because in the long run, that's what counts.
Well, and people joke that they come to Southern Oregon for the holidays to visit, and then they stay. Right. It happens so often. It really does.
It is. And this is a rare place where you can just get all 4 seasons. I had 2 friends that bailed down to Texas, and actually a third one went to Florida this week. And I was like, how could you go do that?
You mean they moved?
Both those states. No, they didn't move. They just went.
They just went to visit.
I'm like, it may not be snow, but if we don't at least have some fog and some freezing cold, it just doesn't feel like it. So, a couple months we'll have the leaves back on the trees, and there's every spring here, I'm just blown away, thinking it couldn't get any prettier than last year. And it's a rare spot to be.
Well, we're really so lucky. We have what I call our own little private utopia. But now everybody knows about it. It was so interesting during the shutdown. when nobody was supposed to be moving or leaving their home. We had all these people discover small town America, and we were on that list. And that's partly why we got such an influx of relocation people. But also it was the remote worker. I mean, that remote worker thing this whole year has been a game changer for our real estate market.
I've had a couple of people. I think we got the first exemption through Facebook to have one of their executives move here, and she was cramped up in a little.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Well, they had 3 kids. They lived across the street from a park that they were not even allowed to go to in the Bay Area, and she thought that she had it the greatest in the world. They'd bus them in. They had massage people there on this big campus, and it was really weird. But she actually got the first exemption to come here, and anyway, they were just like, we're never going to let everybody work remote. And they decided we're going to lose a lot of really good people if we don't let them work remote. So I don't know where it all landed, but we did get that one through.
Yeah. Well, we're talking to Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage, and we're going to have to take a quick break so that we can have a sponsor announcement from Mutual Mortgage. So thank you so much for being part of the show all year. It's been great. We're going to be back in just a quick minute. We're also brought to you by John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford, and our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. We'll be right back. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. We're talking to Guy Giles, Mutual Mortgage, our in-house lender. And we were talking about some of the changes since last year, but also some of the surprises, because I remember last year around this time, early 2022, we were trying to guess what was going to happen. And I was wrong on several of my predictions. My big one was I thought we were going to have a much bigger number of transactions because of the interest rate increases. I was predicting there'd be a lot more listings. It would open up, that whole clogged market stuff of not having enough houses. And we still are down in the number of properties we've sold in all 3 counties. However, we're up higher in the dollar amount.
Yeah, it's I think we're still nationally like 3.3% over what it was last year.
Okay, so everybody's still making money on their
I guess it was
real
3.5.
estate.
Yeah, I mean the median house price in America, just if you put everything together, is still $371,000, which may not seem like a lot around here, but if you factor in, Georgia and little places down in the South, and that just aren't as expensive as up here, it's not a bad average, especially considering, like I said, that house that I bought for $137,000, and I thought, man, I'm overpaying for this guy years ago. It was a long time ago, but they are definitely going up, and people are, starting to settle back in and maybe buy some investment properties too. We have some pretty cool tools where we're showing people, over time, rents are still going up. They actually didn't go up quite as fast as they have been lately, but they're still, you're going to pay somebody's mortgage. You're going to pay yours, or you're going to pay somebody else's. So, if you have the means to do it, it might not be a bad time to talk to Alice about a investment property, or just being in the game. Like I always say, I've done a lot of dumb things with money, but I've never really gone wrong with real estate. So
well, and Mutual Mortgage has some nice ways to get investment property. And also, do you still have that bridge that let's talk about that, because you don't always have to sell something to buy something, and Mutual Mortgage can help with that.
Yeah, we do have a decent bridge loan. The funny part is I still don't actually do them. I mean, everybody thinks it's a great thing, but it seems like every time I get one right to where we're getting ready to do it, their house goes in escrow or something. And people are a lot nicer these days about allowing offer, which is kind of cool. But it's a great program, and literally we got one accepted because of it. And then they actually at the last minute decided to keep their house and just do a refinance on their house there and pay cash for their one up here. So there's there's a lot of different avenues that we can look at. I don't want to be that guy that when you come in with your idea, it might be the right idea, but it might not be the right one. And we've tried to troubleshoot these for years and years, just finding out what the best deal is for somebody. And even though that is a good product, and if you're going to lose that dream house at the right price for it, you would definitely do the bridge loan, but it can be a little bit more expensive, not a lot, but you're dealing with just a little bit more headaches. And the funny part is as excited as I was to have this program, we still haven't done them. So it's just kind of funny. I know there's other people in the company that have, but it's just kind of worked out with our markets to where has been a different option. But there are a lot of different things that we can look at for.
So how does that work? Like, what are the mechanics? Say, I need to buy a house before I sell my house. Like, what actually does the bridge loan do?
Well, what it does is it uses the equity of the house that you have currently.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Okay.
you're encumbering or doing a loan on both houses. So, if you have a house that you're selling in California, one thing when I had this program before, I could not do it across state lines, but I actually can now, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool.
So if you have somebody that maybe, bought their house a long time ago in California, this last one was in Davis, and they actually didn't owe anything on it at all. So there's $900,000 of equity right there. So it actually, you're qualifying for both. If you had your taxes and insurance in this case, you still have to hit them with that liability, but you just think, like I said, you encumber both. And then when your house sells, they don't say you have to do it in 30 days. There's just an expectation that you're going to. But that said, when your house sells, they will release that piece off and then pay this loan down to whatever you want to pay it down to, and you're going. But that way you're able to write a non-contingent offer without, there's just a little bit more title fees and things like that because you are encumbering that other house. It's not cost prohibitive, but
well, it can sure be convenient just for your lifestyle. It's complicated and hard to have to time the moving out of this one with its set of circumstances and moving into this one with that set of circumstances, and God forbid somebody else is selling something. It just gets to be. So these bridge loans, can really be a godsend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another tool in our belt. I've said recently, just other things have worked out to where we haven't. I'm sad to say I haven't even actually done one, but there's, from what I understand, the ones that go through are pretty smooth, and I'm pretty familiar with the product. And we just try to look at the whole picture and just find out whatever's best for the person. And it is anyway, but it is there and ready to go if somebody needs it. But people are accepting contingent ones lately, so it hasn't. I don't know. I think that's the main thing that we didn't end up doing one, but it also takes some of the pressure off if you want to move. When I moved 5 years ago, I can't believe it's been that long now, but I didn't sell my house. I kept it. So I took my time moving out of there and throwing stuff away and going through it and getting it ready to rent. And it was nice not having those deadlines to just get everything done. So it could actually, if it relieves the pressure, there's a lot of people, that's the most stressful thing, is trying to coordinate everything together. If that's a factor, then the bridge loan might be a good idea. And then you can sell your house at your own time, and you're not in some kind of a rush to reduce your price or, do something if it doesn't have to go away before you can close on your new house.
That's such a good point. Even in a normalizing market or moderating or whatever you want to call it, stabilizing, that sure gives you a lot of power. If you have a pre-approval letter without a contingency, but yeah, we are seeing a lot more sellers accept these contingent sale just so that they can bridge the gap. It's a way to bridge the gap.
Maybe it's just the Christmas season, but definitely the sellers are a whole lot nicer right now.
Feeling a little more generous. So what other kinds of product loan possibilities does Mutual Mortgage have?
Well, one thing, and it's not exclusive to us, but they're changing some rules around the HomeReady, HomePossible, and what those are. They're first-time homebuyer programs. You could actually own a house.
They're bringing those back?
Well, they've been here. It's just the problem is the median income. You can't really make more than $65,000 in this area, and so I mean, usually that doesn't buy you a house. So it's just been one of those things that that we haven't seen a lot of. But from what I understand, and we don't have the numbers yet, they're going to raise up the limits on those and get rid of a lot of the what are called LLPAs, or loan level pricing adjustments, for those. So I think that's going to be a good first time home buyer product coming into the new year. They're Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have actually added a couple pricing hits for cash out refinances for next year. And once we have all of those, I think it'd be worth taking a segment to talk about what it is. But they're doing away with some of them for some of the first time home buyer programs. And that's one thing that didn't go away during this, during this kind of setback, as far as the rates and just everything over the last few months, is first time home buyers have stayed strong. They're still out there buying. And, I think it's more so the people that have something they have to sell that, has slowed people down, or they're getting out of a 2.8% rate. And now staring, what was a 7% rate, so I think those people slow down, but the first time home buyers are still around. And I think anything they can do to make that program more viable, it's cool. You can have people help you co-sign for it. It's just a program that I need to get into a little bit deeper, face to face with somebody. But I think that's going to be kind of the push going into the new year, some of these first time home buyer programs.
Yeah. And you and I have been talking about doing like a first time home buyer seminar or talk or something at one of the local restaurants. Just so, I mean, we jokingly call our working title is Pie and Pre-Approval.
Yeah.
But I think the first time home buyers are the ones that help the market move forward, because they buy the starter homes, and then the people that have the starter homes can buy up. They're certainly an important part of the market. And gosh, we have so many tenants in Southern Oregon, and a lot of the landlords, at least in Southern Oregon, are not keeping their properties. So helping those folks get their own digs is super important.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it just helps out everybody. I mean, there's a lot of data showing that if you own your own home, you tend to stay on your job longer. It's more stable. You're more vested in the community. And I think it could be good for the economy all the way around, and like I said, it's just a numbers thing. We just sit down and talk. And if the thing pencils out, it might not be a bad time to start looking.
So when you're talking to first time home buyers, what is their biggest obstacle?
Well, depending on the person, I mean, the biggest one that's hard is if somebody has something that they've been renting for $1,100 a month. And, so that's really scary going into, a $2,300 payment. So what we'll usually do is figure out, about kind of where they want their budget to be, and say it's $400 or $500 more than what they're paying right now. Have them pay themselves that while they're looking for a house. So, a couple of months into this, while they're, doing it, A, they're saving money for one thing, which never hurts. And B, it's a nice way to just kind of try it on where you're not really obligated yet.
Yeah. See, that is such a good idea. Yeah.
And so we've actually been doing that for a long time with people, and they might come back and say, you know what, that was easy. We used to go out to dinner 5 times a week, and now we don't. And not only is that $400 not a big deal, but we could actually look at, maybe even going up a little bit in our purchase price. But it's scary to pull the Band-Aid off. But I'm a big proponent of just, let's just look at this thing. And, a lot of times it's A, not as bad as it looks, or B, people are pleasantly surprised. If you put together a budget, it's almost like getting a raise, because where every dollar is going.
Yeah. Plus you have more down payment. We're talking to Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage, our in-house lender, comes on the show once or twice a month to bring us up to speed of what's going on in the financial world. Just a reminder that this broadcast will be repeated again tomorrow, 6:00. And also just a reminder that KCMX is moving exclusively to FM 99.5. We're on there already, but we're not going to be on the AM 880 anymore. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to the Real Estate Show, folks. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker here in Southern Oregon with John L. Scott, and we're talking today to Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage, our in-house lender. And right before the break, we were just talking about how important the first-time home buyers are, and that a lot of us are going to be doing some special things for 2023 to help people get ready, because it's hard. Once you become a homeowner, it's easy to keep that going. But we were talking before the break about obstacles for first-time home buyers, and you mentioned they're scared to make a payment because their rent is low.
Yeah, but it is amazing if you can. I never had fancy cars when I was coming up, but it is amazing if you might even be able to get a pretty good price for your used car right now. Maybe get into something that's a little bit cheaper there. I would just rather have my money in an appreciating asset, something that you can have tax write-offs, something that's going up in value, buffers you against rents. It's just a good move. If like I said, I always go back to if it pencils out, because we want to look at the numbers and make sure you're ready. I don't want to ever put anybody in a house, before they are. But in order to get ready, sometimes you just need to have a conversation. And
so how does that conversation sound? If somebody comes to you, they've never owned a house, they don't know much about the process, where do you start the conversation with them?
I generally start it with, depending if you're living with your mom, I want them to understand that now you're going to be paying your electric bill. And so again, it just comes down to a budget. And so if they're really a first-time home buyer, a lot of times I'll encourage them, if they're really young, to bring in a family member, just an extra set of ears, because
oh yeah, that's a good idea.
A lot to talk about. And maybe that person in your family has gone through this before, and there's no part of me that's ashamed to look them in the eye and tell them about my rates and fees, because I'd go up against anybody with that stuff. So I don't have anything to hide, and I just assume get an extra set of ears on the thing, and they might have input also. And like I said, a lot of times that family member may have a story about, just like mine, as far as when they bought their first house, they were scared. And, it's just getting them prepared, just letting them, understand that, it's a little different if they're, if the AC goes out. A lot of times you guys will negotiate a home warranty, so people don't really have to worry about that stuff for a while, but it's just a little different level. But I definitely don't ever miss turning in what I paid for my taxes to the tax guy at the end of the year. So, there's just a lot of blessings. And I know, just like, even people are willing to deal right now. Hayden Homes, I think they came down $20,000 on their base house, and I think they're offering $20,000 towards buying down your rate and doing things.
So, and that's a really big market moment when subdivision contractors are lowering their price. That affects the whole subdivision. They just don't do that. Some of the homes in East Medford, over by that Albertsons down there, there's a couple of subdivisions that are going in over there. Same thing, their prices are going down. But that's a big deal. So when I see that, it makes me think, well, if the builders are making deals, then I think we're bottoming.
Yeah.
Because builders just don't do that.
No, I 100% agree. And it's not that like, just because I mentioned Hayden, that they're greedy. My gosh, nobody could get any wood for a while. Nobody could get any parts, and then
you could get half of a plumbing elbow, but not the other half.
Yeah. So
that actually was happening.
Yes. Oh my
So,
gosh.
and do you know, actually, just a side note, that the power company, PP&L, their transponder, when you're doing a new electrical setup for a new house, you need power, right? They're delayed until March. Like, people are trying. Yeah. People think, oh, well, I got through all the rigmarole with the particular municipality and I'm all ready to go. And it's like, maybe not. You better call the power company immediately if you're going to be adding.
Wow.
Adding addresses.
I would have thought some of that would have eased up a little bit, and I think it did with some building materials, maybe, but not whatever
Well,
Gee,
can you imagine the supply chain for those things? I mean, I didn't even ever think about it, but the power company has a supply chain.
yes. Yeah, there's some things you're right. You just got to take for granted that
Like, what the heck?
I don't know. I'm still truckless because, they quit building the truck that I wanted to get for a year. And I've never bought new cars in my life, but I finally got to a point where I just, we want to travel a little bit. And it's been terrible just trying to buy a truck of all things.
Mhm.
So, but hopefully some of that stuff's easing up also. And, I don't know. I'm looking forward to another year, just very, very soon here.
And maybe it'll be a little more normal, at least housing market wise. We'd like to see the rent stabilize, but Oregon has a rent control in the state of Oregon, but this year the allowable rent increase is really high. It's over 14% that landlords can legally raise the rent.
Yeah, because it's tied to
2023.
the appreciation, right?
It's a 7% cap, but the state of Oregon allows the landlord to add on cost of living. So they call it CPI, Consumer Price Index, and it's regional. So 2023 Oregon CPI is 7.5%. And so Oregon lets the landlord put those together. So your 7% cap plus the cost of living increase allowable for 2023 by the state of Oregon, 7.5%. That's 14.5%.
Wow. They really helped everybody by putting that in, didn't they?
Everything has consequences, but this is another reason why you and I and a lot of other people in the housing industry are really wanting to reach out to the first-time homebuyer people right now, because it's going to be hard out there if you're a tenant in Oregon.
Yes, you're going to be paying somebody's mortgage. It might as well be your own. I mean, honestly, if you have the wherewithal to, buy some investment properties, that's great. I have a couple myself, but if you can be in your own house, if you're renting, you're paying somebody else's, and if you're owning your own house, there's just a lot of benefits to it. So,
And didn't you tell me there were some pretty good numbers with the investor purchase market, like landlords were still buying?
Yeah, they're still making up about 14 to 16%. What hurt people on my end, the people that are financing those houses, and again, just on another number, 26% of the houses that are selling are cash still. So there's still a lot of people just paying cash, but 14 to 16% of the houses that are selling are investment properties. What the GSEs, or the government sponsored entities, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they've made it incredibly expensive to buy investment properties. So, it seems like they're maybe backing off of that a little bit now, but it's a second home it used to be priced just as a first house. Now it's priced basically just like an investment property. So they kind of tweak some things behind the scenes sometimes. And it doesn't necessarily help the overall, situation either.
Well, we're going to have to talk more about that next year. Guy Giles, Mutual Mortgage, we appreciate you, your wealth of information, and very funny.
My wife doesn't think so, but I try.
Well, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.